Sake is a much more easier pairing option for all sorts of food because it wants to be friends with all sorts of food. It doesn't want to fight in general.
So what's going on, guys? The Sultan of Slow Drip, aka Justin Doggett, is here gracing us with his presence. And we're going to get into the episode after, but we're going to start with the tasting of sake. According to Dila, according to Jason Chan, the sake mama.
Oh my God, yes. He said that one time to Phil Vattel the very first time, and Phil just looked at me, and then the Tribune, he was writing for it, and he's like, Chan calls her sake mama. I don't know her that well to call her that yet. So I was like, I don't know if he's complimenting me or not, but, so, yeah, we'll see. But what we have over here is Taka. The brewery is called Domaine Taka, and Taka-san's story is like quite unique, and I truly, truly love his style of brewing too. And they always say that like nobody brews like Taka-san, right? So back in the days, he has a glass of Chablis Chardonnay, and he falls in love with it, and then he just goes to friends' backpacks, right? Goes to be like a very big chateaus and famous winemakers, and he cracks the code. He pretty much gets in and studies wine for a long time, and comes back home, and he pretty much tells his family that you guys are not really brewing good sake over here. What's so unique though is that he also discovers that there's so much limestone actually around the brewery, which goes inside the water too, and it affects. So Taka brews sake. I probably shouldn't say that. I might go to jail, like a sake jail for this. But like wine, that's what's in his mind, and that's why his brewery is called Domaine Taka too. So what I really love about this, like the Noble Arrow, it's so bright, beautiful, crisp, but textured and layered at the same time. And then you get a little bit like mint at the very end. So let's just I would say maybe smell it a little bit.
Okay.
You tell me how you're feeling. And I am actually pouring this today a little closer to room temperature, so you can actually really get all these aromas. For me, every time I am actually smelling Taka at this temperature, I get this an Asian pear. But the skin of it,
You're
the outside.
absolutely on point with that.
It's slightly perfumed.
Yeah.
And I'm expecting to bite into it.
This palate thing, you guys are so... I'm such the novice on his show, and I love hearing
That's
this.
100% what it is.
This breakdown.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like you walk past the section that has Asian pears in the market, and you just smell them from walking by.
I know. And every time I think of Asian pear, I tend to think of apricot too.
Yeah.
So it's somewhere in between for me. A little stone fruit, but something also juicy like Asian pear. If it's ripe enough, you bite to it, it's like a tomato. It's gonna
just
splash.
all over, right? Yeah.
Love it. So that's what I get. And then take a sip. You're gonna see that it's
Kanpai?
it is kai kanpai.
Kanpai. Very focused. I can see where you would say he brews like it's wine, because it does have a very kind of Chablis, old world Chardonnay.
Totally.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit of spice as well, I'm getting too.
Definitely some maybe white peppers. I would get there's some flowers in there too, not so pungy and strong, but definitely get it. That mint, my boss was the one actually said that, can you get mint? And it was the fifth time. I'm like, that's what I couldn't put together, that herbaceousness. I was getting some herbs, but I could not pinpoint it. I was circling around 3 different herbs, and I was like, that's not quite it. And I was never thinking of the mint too. So definitely
I would say spearmint almost yeah.
And this is the aftertaste, or
At the finish, yeah.
At the finish.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Definitely.
Because when I drink it, at least I feel that it kind of expands and then it focuses as you
velvety finish.
Yeah, and that last little after trail is minty.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's very nice spearmint left on the tongue. I feel that's really beautiful.
I'm glad you enjoy it. Yeah, he's quite a legend. I'm a huge fan, as you can tell. I also do have a namazake here, an unpasteurized sake from Brooklyn, New York, nowhere in Japan.
Yeah.
Brooklyn in Japan, you know. And also I do have Yuho. So I actually would like to pour you the Brooklyn Kura first.
Oh,
So these two gentlemen met at a wedding in Japan, and they became friends. And I believe after drinking many, many ishobins throughout, I think like they were there quite a while, like, you know, travel. And they really liked like sake so much. And then home brewing is not allowed in Japan.
Oh, wow.
You cannot brew at home. And they both came over here. They were keeping in touch. One of them started brewing sake in his Brooklyn condo. The other one is in Oregon in his basement. And then throughout like a few years, they kept talking and like did this business plan. And they totally had like a very successful 2 different like careers, and they just quit their careers. And now one brews and the other one manages. So the brewery is in Brooklyn. And what's so unique about this, after 13 years of me drinking sake and like studying sake, I found out the first time New York has the best brewing water in the
really?
entire.
Is it the mineral
Yes.
profile of the water?
Yeah, and then like the iron is like very low too, and that's a big deal for sake brewing.
Okay.
And the bed where they make the koji, you know, which is the rice that has this like a kind of like mold, I would like to say, that propagates on it. The bed is done in Brooklyn from certain like a, you know, wood shop. And like you are actually, when you're bringing doing the koji, you're wrapping it up like a burrito with this I would say like a blanket. In Japan, there's one company that makes it, and almost like 99.9% of every brewer buys it from them. They actually found an artist in New York that made this blanket for them.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah, the rice is also from here. 2 different rices they do use. And, you know, and the Brooklyn water and their talent. And this is all about Brooklyn. So they do make this namazake. It's like this one is very tropical. Generally, like when I tell people namazake, they're waiting for something that's not going to drink as soft and velvety and tropical like this. They're always thinking that it's going to have very sharp edges. And right over here, number 14 definitely does not have that. So this is my biggest advocate, like when I'm telling people, don't be scared of drinking namazake. So,
Okay.
yeah. And really tropical. It can quite like make you fail in a blind tasting, actually. It's so soft. This bottle has been open like for like 3-4 days now, you know, but
It's
very
got
fruity.
Nice, very nice melon, like honeydew, and then also like a little bit of pineapple as well on the nose.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah.
Pineapple is actually one of the tasting notes that we
Okay.
have written too. So, and like there's a little bit of salinity at the end.
Salinity
like
for sure. There's like some
In the
guava.
smell?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
I'm getting some guava as well, like coming through.
I like that.
Wow, it's much sweeter.
Lighter, much lighter.
Right? Like it's very, very soft. It's big, but soft. Just like wine. Wine can be like very
Yeah.
big, but it could drink really soft. So it's the same thing. And it's just so delicious. And we
Yeah.
just actually got this in Illinois and Hinoki with Auto Fans new restaurant. So they're the first ones to carry it. And they do also make them in kegs. So
Oh, wow.
Roka Accor and Sushi Doku just
Nice.
received their kegs too. So yeah,
So,
Brooklyn Kura on tap.
what kind of food would you preferably pair this with? What do you think? Like clams or something, or?
Clams would be like definitely something that has a richer sauce could work. What I would prevent with this would be like, what I would prevent actually would be something that has like a tare glaze, the teriyaki sauce, right? And lighter style dishes or some broth,
Okay.
like you were saying, would be really good. really good with certain desserts.
I was thinking that
would
it tastes
say.
like a dessert wine almost. Yeah.
And all those pineapple like glaze too. Some like Filipino food is also fantastic with this. Anything that gets a little like a fruit juice in it that you're cooking with. And I really like these Brooklyn Kura sakes with like all sorts of cheeses. I was talking about Yuho the other night too, and I'm like, I literally walked into the 8 cheese section at this grocery store, and I closed my eyes and I grabbed one cheese. Like I tend to do this really often because like I just want to expend, my own researches too, and I don't want to like quite get influenced with everything that I read. Sometimes it turns into a horrible pairing, but you know what? I learned something from it. Then I start looking at like, it's like with this cow milk or this one, it's a harder cheese or it's this or that. So I like to do my own experiment, and I like it with like cheese too.
Okay.
With some like a fresh cut fruits with it. Definitely.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that too, because when I tasted this, I was like, this might sound weird, but I think this might be sake that would go well with like a kind of flat, thin crusted pizza.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. When we're talking about like
prosciutto or something.
Definitely. Some arugula on it,
Exactly.
like maybe some white sauce.
Exactly.
Let's go. I can talk about
that
that
would
for
like,
days.
be really, really
days.
good.
Yeah.
That'd be really wonderful. with this, I
Definitely.
think,
Yeah. So dough, right? Something like pizza is great, and something that's thin, and bread, and like crackers. Again.
Yeah, something crispy and light and
Yeah.
airy. Not Chicago pizza, but like very kind of
Yes.
flat, thin pizza.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? Like
yeah.
you don't. I've never seen that kind of pairing.
And maybe I'm just saying that because I like pineapple on pizza.
Oh yeah. You're not
They're
alone.
Hawaiian pizza.
Yeah.
Right?
I know
Yeah.
that's like something people get clowned on for, but
Not prosciutto on pizza.
no, prosciutto on pizza is
Yeah.
like that's
So good.
gourmet.
Yeah. Right over here, the
Thank you.
Yuho. Yuho is a brewery in Ishikawa Prefecture. There's not like so much going on there, like to go see. Besides, most people actually go in there to see UFOs. This is where the most UFO sightings.
Where?
In Ishikawa. In
Oh,
Japan.
Okay.
The most UFOs are seen there.
Interesting.
Yeah, and this is where Miho Fujita-san is from.
Okay.
She was a businesswoman working for Mattel toy company.
Awesome.
The what cars are there?
Hot
Wheels.
Yeah, and Barbie.
And she made a pivot and decided to brew sake. I mean, it's called the Hot Wheels over here, but in Japan, you're having to push the car, but it doesn't go on its own.
Is her picture in the boardroom of Momotaro? Someone mentioned Mattel. Like, there's a bunch of there's a boardroom with a bunch of people in that board, and like
could
maybe.
be. So we do have 2 Miho sons in our portfolio,
okay.
Miho Fujita and Miho Imada-san.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, 2, and probably one of them or both of them are there. I
Okay.
need to stop by and see that boardroom.
Yeah.
Apparently, right now I'm curious.
Yeah,
to
now
see.
you have one more thing to
Are
tell.
you sure it's not my picture? I'm quite offended. So she is so cool also, but what she does is that she ages her sakes a little bit because she thinks that they tend to drink better. And right over here, Eternal Embers is a year age. There's no segment on it, but when you're looking at the coloring too, you're gonna, when you smell it too, you're gonna see it's almost a little rested. Her other sake that we bring in, Rhythm of the Centuries, is aged 4 years, and it's a Yamahai sake, different method, but this is also something that you're gonna start talking about pizza when you taste this, and we're gonna go back to cheese when we taste this, and she's quite the lady that I would say, and her and the brewer, they just really don't get on each other and say one another how they should do things. They just make crazy good sakes and drink it and sell it pretty much. But we do have something going on right now. It's called Operation Yuho. It was a very tough year across the globe. Obviously, it's still continuing. So she was in actually a Zoom, And at the end, like a lot of people like faded, you know, and there was just a handful of people from sake industry. And Sachiko Miyagi-san, she is with Tipsy Sake right now. She was talking to her too, and Miho-san said at some point, like very humbly, like not telling her problem, but like, you know, when they approached her, I actually couldn't get the makanai hito, which is the that's the person who cooks for the whole brewery. There's one person we couldn't rehire, and that's that person. You know, so her and her uncle have been, you know, doing the whole duty for the entire brewery on top of everything else. Now they're cooking 3 days of the week for the entire crew. So it's quite exhausting. And then Sachiko-san was like, we're gonna sell through every Yuho in this country. Like, I'm like, I'm in, tell me, you know? So we just got together and started Operation Yuho. So I did have people from Instagram reaching out to me, hey, where can I find this? And then one of the ladies, I said that this store. She's like, I don't live close to any of those, and I live close to this store. I was like, I don't know if they care. She's like, guess what? I'm like a customer. I buy all my wine from there, so I'm going to go tell them to order. I was like, she got a placement for us. I'm like, we need to pay her out on this. Like, she literally made them bring
That's
some
so awesome.
Yuho. Yeah, so it's quite, you know, we're going to probably like push this and make the same effort for other breweries too. But one of the gentlemen who was there, he actually owns a place to, like, you know, he owns a restaurant. He said that when I get my cases, I actually open the bottles because they tend to drink, just like Miho-san says too. Like the older, more age they are, that they gain, they drink better, you know? So, and this is quite the example for a Junmai drinking like this soft. It's beautiful. It's not overly dry. It's not dry at all, actually, to me.
The nose on it is much more like, it's tighter, I would say. Like, it's just more, like, it's not as, like, floral
less,
and, like,
yeah.
not
No,
just, like,
it is
this
not.
big. Yeah.
No.
You have to reach
But
for it.
there is like a subtle sweetness in your mid palate. I get that. And for sometimes, like, you know, when we write lists, we always, when we're training the staff, we say that, like, you know, say that, like, the daiginjos on top are, like, you know, more softer, like, silkier, easy drinking sakes. Come to the bottom. Like, say that the junmais are, like, you know, tend to be drinking like more drier, earthier. And I always tell them, you need to know the ginjos because they're going to prove that you're lying if you don't know these. Start studying from ginjos. But, you know, this is just like, if I were to say like, hey, junmai, it's going to be like really dry. It's not really overly dry, you know? It's soft. And this is room temperature. It's fantastic. Colder, it's good too. But also this sake performs really well when it's warmed up. I love it so much. But I guess where you're coming from when you say that it is tighter.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm like reaching for it because it's like, as soon as I thought I got something, it like kind of disappeared a little bit. It was almost like I was getting some lemon or something from it, like candied lemon, not like the actual flesh of the lemon, but almost like you took a lemon skin and then dipped it in sugar and let it like dry a little bit. And then you taste that, like, you know what I'm saying?
Love it.
Yeah, I got that kind of.
Yeah. So, like, you know, this is a great example. So sometimes people are like, oh, I like hot sake, but I want to give it a shot for the cold sake too. And I'm like, let me take you through a journey with one bottle only. I will pull this cold from the fridge, serve it throughout their appetizers, cold, while they are eating lighter, refreshing dishes. When we get to the mid courses, and I will never put this back on ice or anything, right? Sitting table side. Or I would pour it in a sake carafe too, so it airs up and then gets to room temperature a little bit. And then when they're doing their second courses, you know, could be dumplings, something warm, they're actually having it like quite closer to like, not room temperature, but slightly above. And then I would warm it up table side. In a little tokkuri, which is like think about this bowl of hot water, and then you do have this carafe in the middle. Pour it table side. That's up to the experience too. And that hot water, instead of like flash, like warming it up and losing all of its elements and nose, this hot water slowly warms it up with your richer, more savory style dishes. So you got one bottle, you got three different styles of sake in there.
Yeah.
Yuho can do that. So I'm not gonna be like talking as confident as the other two guys I do have over here. You know, they're all made for certain different ways to be drank, but Yuho is a superstar in that sense, like to give different experiences. When somebody says that, hey, I just want to buy one bottle, and this is how much I would like to like spend on sake. I'm like, I got you.
You know, I also got this kind of watermelon note from it as well too. What kind of notes do you get from it when it's warm? Does it change at all, or
Is
it more so texture that changes, or
softer?
Okay.
The texture definitely. Like I think that like if you sip it when it's warm, it still stays really velvety. Like when we're talking about hot sake, people always thinks that like it needs to be like boiling hot.
No,
it's not what I'm talking about. So like it actually, you know, when you said tight, it relaxes.
Okay.
You know, so it's not as tight as but I like that tightness when I'm doing actually something like green and herbaceous, like salads, you know?
yeah.
Like even with some croutons on it.
Right, some hard cheeses and olives.
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
stuff like that,
It's great.
Yeah.
So you can do that. But like if I was having a piece of steak, I want this like either room temperature or like more easygoing, you know? Not like fight against it and then stay tight, that savory dish. So definitely like the same notes that I get, I would say. Watermelon is quite interesting actually. So I will drink it again and I will think of watermelon.
Okay. You'll probably taste it like, because I know your palate's
I
very
do
like.
that, yes, because I revisited Taka like so many times for that, like mint too. Like when Monica said it, and I was like, I get it right now, but I want to make sure that like I really, really get it. It's not because you said that there's mint in it. We tend to believe, like if I told you that like
you can tell someone
17
anything.
times
Right.
the same thing, you're going to start believing it, you know? That's how we learn languages, right? When we're born too, we keep hearing one thing and then we just keep repeating it. It's the same exercise your brain does. So that's why I always take notes. And I would say that like, you know, the English like descriptions or like they're not in my dictionary. So all of my entire life, I have always like taken notes, recorded people and stuff in order to like be able to write my own, you know? So it helps me a lot. Candied lemon. I love that. Candied lemon skin. Don't call me out if you ever hear me. The other day I was tasting with a chef and she goes like, I do get caramelized bananas. I'm like, do you? Right here. Let me write this down.
Sometimes you're at a loss of words.
Well,
you do. Yeah. It's quite interesting. I don't know. Especially for me because it's not like in my first language, so I don't think that way in general. So when I hear somebody say something sounds so fancy, I'm like, I'm taking it.
Good for you.
You know, that you mentioned that too. Bananas is a note that I get from some sakes a lot. Do you ever pick up banana? Like,
I do get like a
banana peel.
Banana peel, underripe banana. I get a lot. That skin, the green banana. I do get that a lot in sake. Banana, like caramelized banana, like when she said it, like something like I would talk about like banana pudding, for example, but I never thought of caramelized banana before. But yeah, it's one of those that we would talk about. Yeah.
Because I'd always bring that up to people and like, oh, do you taste banana? They're like, no, I don't taste banana. I'm like, okay. Like,
no.
Yeah, I thought maybe it was just me, but I always got like this banana note from different sake.
Like, you know?
I didn't get it from any of these, but.
No, not me either. Like I have heard people like saying banana for Yuho before, but it has been a while, I would say. Yeah.
Now, usually for me, at least when it tastes like banana, it's like clear. It just like pops right out. Like I taste banana there. And that just became like a defining characteristic of like what to expect from sake. So when I didn't get it, I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting too. Because I've drunk quite a bit of sake. You know, my wife's Japanese. I lived in Japan. So,
God.
you know, I'm pretty familiar with, sake. Yeah, I went to school there, so,
Oh, my goodness.
So,
That's when I got them out.
Oh, gosh.
So it's like.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so I'm like really, really into sake quite a bit. So I was.
Yeah.
When he told me about the episode, I was like, oh, can I come? Invited myself.
Yes.
I'm glad you're here.
Thank you, yeah.
But, you know, you probably have drank some more like a I'm gonna say domestic for them too, but like much izakaya style sake is much drier versions that you would drink, right? Like, tell me a little bit more. Like, for example, like when you go to a bar in Tokyo or at izakaya, like, do you drink sakes that way, or do you tend to drink more drier styles, or what's available?
So there's one really nice sushi place where my wife is from, is Fukuoka, and she literally lives right on the ocean. Her dad's a fisherman. Oh, God. And he can make fugu, for example. Like, he's caught pufferfish, and actually they made fugu for us.
Tell me that you win the lottery without telling me you won the lottery. Like, seriously.
Yeah. So
oh my God.
Yeah. So he's he primarily fishes for squid too. So sake that works well with like namaika, stuff like that. Just like ones that play really well with sashimi, because in my wife's family's house, they are always eating like sashimi at some point in the week.
Yeah.
And he is mostly a shochu drinker. My wife and my mother-in-law, they like sake. I like sake more too, or like beer. But when it comes to having like sashimi, I think sake is like the best. Just finding like a nice kind of drier sake that's more focused and just like has a nice acidity that can kind of cut, like not high acidity, but just enough acidity to kind of pair with the fish.
Definitely.
My wife, she doesn't even eat sashimi. It's kind of funny. So yeah, I found out that I found this out in the middle of us dating, like for like we were like 2 years.
That wasn't a deal breaker. Huh?
Oh my God.
And we went to a Japanese restaurant in New Jersey when she was visiting me in school. And she ordered this dish, chirashi, which has like a bunch of like raw like sashimi on top of rice.
Okay.
And she gets this dish and she starts to pull off the fish and set it aside. And I'm like, oh, you like to eat it separately? And she goes, oh no, I don't eat sashimi. And she just said it so casually. And I'm just like, wait, what? And like, wait, your dad's a fisherman, right? Like, I saw him get on a boat, and
that's the reason probably she hasn't eaten so much sashimi growing up.
Yeah, she said that was it. She
okay.
got tired of it, I guess, like the smell and stuff, having,
because she gets to see the ugly. There's so many people that would trade places with her, like
she gets to see the ugly side of it. So yeah.
But when it comes to pairing too, like sake being like way lower in acidity than wine too, like what. In general, not for just sashimi, sake pairs well with all kinds of cuisines, because sake doesn't fight with the food. You either when it comes to pairings in general, you either want to play along, like hold hands and go together, or you need to like do a flavor burst, right? For example, nigori sake, when we're drinking the unfiltered sake, it goes really well with really hot, spicy dishes, because it helps like cooling down all that spice. Or you're going to try to pair that goes so well. So when it comes to sake, like in general, like wine is much harder to pair with. The higher the acidity, the the style, the region and everything, like sake is a much more easier pairing option for all sorts of food, because it wants to be friends with all sorts of food. It doesn't want to fight in general. It's really hard to say that is not good. It could happen if you drink not to offend anybody, but like you have this like a aged 48 days aged like a ribeye, like this fat, clash, and then you're drinking a Sonoma Pinot Noir with that. Like, kill me now. That's not good for me. So, but like you could drink any of these with that ribeye right now. Think about all of them. Here's a palate cleanser for you. Very bright, beautiful. Here's something we talked how well it does with savory dishes. And same goes for the number 14 from Brooklyn, Kura too. But I need to think about that wine more.
Yeah.
I need to taste it like more. I need to make sure, because the acidity is going to play a huge role. So I need to pick the right Pinot Noir. So let's go to Burgundy probably. Right, something more deeper that I'm gonna look for that. So you need to get more specific. It's an easier pairing than like most beverages, I would say. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I can see that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So.
Damn.
Yeah, sake wants to be friends with everyone.
So what got you into sake so much, like so deeply?
Drinking like hot sake, like for a long time, and many blackout nights. Like I grew up in Turkey. I studied Japanese and did my master's in Japanese in education. And I got a job that I was always a C student. I was never an A student. So, I'm like, I just want to get 70 and pass this, and then let's go party. So, and I got a job at Toyota. And I worked there 3 months. It was the worst 3 months of my
Turkey or in the US?
In Turkey.
In Turkey.
Because until then, I didn't work, and like where I grew up to in our culture too, a little bit, like you're especially a girl, and if your family can afford you with everything they have, they're working really hard still, to send you to school. Your job is to go to school. So my job was to go to school. And I always said, like, I'm going to study Japanese, I'm going to do business, I'm going to travel the world, yada, yada, Dila. None of that happened, right? So, but I got the job at Toyota. I'm like, I thought this is what life is about. Like, everything is going to be fantastic right now. Here I am in a room, a tiny room, translating all day in front of a computer. I wanted to be like, this is done. Like, this is not me.
How long did that last?
3 months. I was in and out, and I called all those people, the A people. I'm like, I'm leaving this job. If you want it, it's yours. I'm packing this office. Come get it. Like, it was really bad. So I told my parents that I'm going to go to the United States one more time for vacation. I graduated, yada, yada. So I came here, and I did not go back quite a while. But when I told them that I'm not going back home, they said, okay, cool. So now you graduated too. There's no more school. Let us know when you're down to your last $100. We'll send you a ticket this time.
Dang.
I was like, okay, and walked into this restaurant in Champaign-Urbana called Kamakura, owned by then over 20 years by the same family. They thought I was cute because I could speak Japanese, and they were like, do you want to work lunches? And I'm like, yeah. And the first tip that I got, and I'm like, what am I gonna do with this? This is not enough for nothing, So worked really hard within that month to gain some pick up some food, because I don't know how to serve. I don't know. Wow. I don't know nothing, actually, literally. I know how to consume it. So I was like, okay. They gave me some shifts. I actually people always think that some of my career moves, I tell them, oh my God, it's so fancy. I'm like, no, it was more common back then too, even before. These Japanese restaurants would bring Japanese chefs, sushi chefs from Japan. It's classic, between lunch and dinner you close. And they would put all of them either in an apartment or a building. So this restaurant's owner had a kind of warehouse that was parted into rooms. So I lived in one of those rooms.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Literally.
Cut some costs down?
Yeah. I could not afford it,
Right.
So I was like, I'm going to make it though. So I pushed it. I worked it actually 2 years, and, me wanting to learn more. And again, I drank we drank boxed sakes, because at the end of the shift, they were like, I have a carafe of sake. Everybody can have a small carafe. It cost 16 cents, back then. So you could literally have it, but it was not the good thing. And then I was like, hey, can I try this? Can we do this and stuff? 2 years after, I moved to Chicago, and then I worked at Union Sushi and Barbecue. It was opening new. So that's where I first started drinking more decent sakes that I would say. Champagne's still a college town, so the variety was not so much, but it got my interest so much. Gotcha. I wanted to get more involved to it. And my last resort before working with Wine Connections was Tao Chicago. A pretty decent program. Before, I have worked in other restaurants here. I worked in Ozumo in San Francisco. We had 48 glasses by the glass sake.
Wow.
And they're selling. None of them is sitting in the fridge.
That many different sakes.
Yes, in styles, clean.
To do that by the
robust,
glass
umami,
is really incredible.
Savory,
That's really,
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And think about the by the bottle list. It goes for days. And that's where I had an access to all sorts of sakes.
Yeah.
The amount of sake business there is crazy. And after I moved back to Chicago, even I would bother distributors. I had that. It's available. It's in San Fran, Can you bring it?
Yeah.
I have had a few distributors bring stuff that was not readily available in Chicago market.
Because at that point, what's up. Because you've had this huge experience of.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
So, and before and after San Fran, Chicago is like much different to the culinary scene. So like we see like much better like selection. People are much more educated. They would like more from their experience, because so many wonderful restaurants opened up and like they see the value. So why would I give my money to A when B can perform and give me another wonderful experience where I learn a thing or two, right? So the service is much more elevated. Lists are much more elevated. So, but throughout all those like, you know, different restaurants, the more, I'm going to say SKUs, brands, like breweries, like that I met, the more I got into it.
Nice.
So, yeah, but it just started with studying Japan and not doing anything related to, but probably if it was not me studying Japanese back then, I don't think anyone would have given me a serving job if I did not speak Japanese.
In a Japanese restaurant, yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty much the whole reason. They gave me a couple lunch shifts because they needed one person, and the lunch menu is like bento A, bento B, bento C.
I think you still would have got it.
Yes, but like they don't know me, but they were like, she kind of looks crazy, but like, you know. So that's how I really like, you know, the first time I learned that like you don't put an order in at 2:01 was like when the donburi bowl, the, you know, the rice bowl, I put an order in, like back then we're still writing the order, the table number, name, order, put it in the kitchen, you say order in, and you leave the kitchen. That donburi bowl flew next to my head and straight to the wall. I just looked at the clock. Because, like, I went to a Japanese school. Like, you know, I never learned anything in Turkey from a non-Japanese person. So I know what time means. It just clicked at that second. It's 2:01. Guess what? We never talked. Me and that chef never had that conversation. And I have always was on it after 1:55, making my last calls for the dining room because, you know, he's tired. He needs to go to sleep too. And then this is like the nap time in between for them. They work a very, very long day.
Yeah.
You know, they're away from their families. They come here to do that, and it's a level of respect, you know? And I knew, but for a second you forget it, and I was like, oh.
You don't want to play around.
I'm back to this. So I never did that, you know? I learned really good, like everything that I learned in school that I practiced in that restaurant, like, you know, the group mentality, like when I was at Toyota too, you know, something would break in the factory, like a machine, and, you know, an engineer will be like, I'm going downstairs, I'll look for it, right? Hour and a half, it's fixed, comes back. When it happens, when the Japanese people are in charge, most of them stop working. They go downstairs together. They all look at the issue, fix it. Doesn't matter how long it took. But the next time, they all know when the same problem occurs, how fast to go down there, one person, and fix it. What better group mentality?
Yeah.
Everyone learns.
Yeah.
Everybody learns, yeah. And it was the same way, like when it came to working as a group in that restaurant too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So like never like worked individually. Like all
that.
the servers, like now I hear like I want to make my own money. Like I don't want to pool with people. We wanted to pool because I'm like, if I'm seeing that you're struggling, I want to bring you up because like maybe I have my regulars coming in, but if you give good service too, the restaurant's name can go out there more. More traffic would be coming in here. From those, I can also create more regulars for myself too. So like, it's not me.
Yeah,
it's
I mean that's like
we.
Yeah,
like you see, like you know, in any sort of disaster too, like in the world, like. We see this in many places in the world. Like they will go vandalize and like break into stores and stuff. And then you're seeing when
in Japan they wait in line.
They wait in line and they look back.
After
like
Fukushima,
when
you see people waiting in line
when
to
they're
get supplies and stuff.
Yeah, and they don't get 2 loaves of bread or whatever.
They just get what they need.
They just get and because there's other people. So that mentality has stayed with me forever. And I always I utilized because I knew that I was not like very qualified to do certain jobs, but I was willing to learn. So for the first like a few years of my career, I would take any job that was just a little bit better in order to learn. Money was never the thing for me. Like, I figured out how to make money and make a living. At that point, I was like, how can I sharpen my skills? How can I learn more? That was the focus, you know? And more opportunities came that way. One time, like, I asked this lady, she's one of my mentors. She's the director of business development for the whole hard rock corporate in the entire world, right? She's the one who took me to my first management job. And I'm like, why me? She's like, because you're the one who never asked, oh, we're going to go set up for this event. You're like, I'll go. Like, I knew sometimes you had no idea what you were going to do, but you were ready to put your hand on the drug. You never asked, like, how much money am I going to make? You did not make yourself the focus, but you cared more about the project. And I knew you could handle it. That's why I picked you. I was like, okay. You know, so my new boss in a meeting introducing me to another state, like, she said that I found my unicorn, and I'm like, oh God, I need to be a unicorn.
That's
right
a lot
now.
of pressure, huh?
That's yes, like look at this, like it's giving me chills right now,
really
and I have to perform to that. You know, like if she sees that, sometimes you don't see things that you have, like others see it. Like last Sunday, I was shooting for a commercial. A video, and this guy is like, come here, can look at this camera. I was like, am I doing something wrong? Like, you know, I have many facial expressions, and like, I'm not supposed to be the focus in this video, actually. He's like, look at your hands. I'm like, this stuffed grape looking things, like stuffed grape leaves looking, dolmas. I have always hated my hands. He goes like, look at this. He's like, after this is done, we would like to put you on a contract.
Hand model? You're a hand model?
Sanitizer commercial. I'm like,
It's so funny.
what?
Yeah.
Like, you don't know, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I literally thought he was joking first, but now I'm going to get paid
That's
for
so
these
cool.
domas, so I'm pretty proud. Yeah, it's just like, you know, just...
Sometimes you don't see your self-worth.
Yeah.
It takes someone else to see it, right?
Exactly.
You know, I want to do another episode. I got to leave now.
I know. I was just
Yeah.
going to say, before we go too deep.
Yeah, I want. Yeah, because I feel like we're getting into the interview now. So before we get too deep, I want, because I don't want to interrupt it.
No, okay.
But it's time for me to head out.
I
So
hear you,
I feel like we'll have to work something else out to
Yes.
do another
Yeah,
session,
more
because I
of
really
like the
love.
palette
Definitely.
training.
Yeah.
Like, I love that.
Yeah.
So I'll be in touch with you guys, and
Yes.
you know, enjoy the
Thank
interview.
you.
And
Cool.
we can
Yes.
talk.
Do you have a card, or how can I get it? Oh, I have your
Instagram.
Instagram.
Instagram,
Yes,
yeah.
I'll
So,
tell you
yep.
when I'm dropping the coffee.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Of
All right,
course.
we'll
You guys
resume
have a great
in a
one.
minute.
All right, bye, everybody.
You can edit this, right? I'm like...